When I was young, when I was a youngin' and planning my career, I got some great advice. Find
You're at
something you
the
love to
depot.
do, and then figure out how to get paid
I'm
for it.
on, I'm on the bus
Would you
right now.
love
Oh,
to
okay,
deport 11
but
to
isn't
16
that pretty
million?
late for you at the depot?
Oh, Thursdays I work 9 to 6, but just chilling.
Next stop, Bastille Road. Station.
Illegal aliens from this country? I certainly would. If the popular vote last November is any indication, most Americans would love to do that too.
Next stop,
What if I told you that you could today get a $50,000 signing bonus, a decent salary, possible performance-based bonuses, we'll get to that in a moment, and even student loan repayment if you have student loans at all, because you don't even need a college degree, all to deport a bunch of, which is something that most of us would probably do for free. If you don't see me behind this desk tomorrow, you will know why. Because that is the current offer on the table from the Trump administration. I'm Michael
next
Knowles.
stop,
Michael
Bastille Boulevard.
Wayfair presents bedroom furniture.
So, the job is to deport people. The deportations are not going fast enough for most of our liking. So they're saying, look, we'll give you cash bonuses for every head that you toss out of the country. Not just that you arrest, but that you actually get deported on the other side of the border. So that was the internal email, according to the New York Times. 4 hours later, an official in the ICE Field Operations Division, Liana J. Castano, wrote an email, said, please disregard. So forget about the cash bonuses, forget about that for now. Now, the $50,000 signing bonus, that's still good. The agency has made, apparently, over 1,000 tentative job offers already on these grounds. The big, beautiful bill that Trump just passed, his signature legislation for this year, has just increased ICE's annual budget by many multiples. It's going from $8 billion a year to $28 billion a year. I think that makes it the second best funded law enforcement agency in the country. But here's the key paragraph. Here's the key for this report. The bonus program that ended on Tuesday almost as quickly as it began had been described as a 30-day pilot. According to documents reviewed by the Times, under its terms, ICE would hand out $200 cash, okay, not $500, $200. This is a fiscally responsible administration. $200 bonuses for each immigrant deported within 7 days of being arrested, and $100 for those deported within 2 weeks, according to an initial memo signed by Ms. Castano. It was sent to the directors and deputy directors of ICE's field offices across the country. What's the takeaway here? The takeaway is the Trump administration clearly wants to ramp up the deportations. Now, Trump's cynical critics, some on the left, who are just looking for any excuse to attack Trump, but also Trump's critics on the right. There are some people on the right who seem to exist only to be saboteurs to the Trump administration, who are either positioning themselves as more moderate than Trump or even sometimes more to the right of Trump, but all they ever seem to do is criticize Trump and try to gum up the works in the most right-wing administration that we've had that happened to be elected with the popular vote, and they're very sus people. In any case, Trump has gotten uniform criticism from all of them, which is that you promised that you'd have mass deportations, and you lied. We don't have mass deportations. Where are the mass deportations? In some cases, it looks like Obama deported people faster than you. What? It's true. The deportations have been relatively slow compared to the 11 to 16 million conservatively that we have in the country. But is that because, this is an open question, is it because the Trump administration doesn't really seriously want to deport these people? Or is it because it's very, very difficult? And there are all sorts of opponents and bad actors who are gumming up the works along the way, and it's just a job to begin with because of the policies of Biden and Obama that let these people into the country in the first place. It seems to me clearly it's that it's a tough job and there are all sorts of impediments. A lot of judges, a lot of these random two-bit district judges, a lot of sanctuary city mayors and politicians who make it very difficult for ICE to do its job. But you look at these kinds of programs, how can you tell me Trump doesn't want to deport these people? When you're increasing the budget three-fourfold, when you are offering $50,000 sign-up bonuses, when you're offering, and this is a great pilot program, and this is, I guess, my final point on this, $100 to $200 bounties per head of every... That's the only way you're going to get this stuff done. You need to use every incentive you have on the table. The most effective part of Trump's deportation policies thus far has been self-deportation. Don't forget, there was a Center for Immigration Studies survey that came out about a month ago looking at the labor force over the course of this year. It found that 1 million illegal aliens had self-deported. They had taken themselves out of the labor force. They'd gone back to their countries. Trump had been trying to impel this with that ICE app that gives illegal aliens a cash bonus if they geolocate in their country of origin and prove they're not in the U.S. anymore. That's been by far the most effective part of it. And of course, it's the cheapest, it's the most efficient. Sure, that's great. But we got to use every incentive available to us. So I don't know why this reported program ended. I think it's great. My only criticism of this program, the bounties aren't high enough. Right now it's 1 to 200. Let's make it 3 to 400. But let's ramp it up. Trump wants to do it, clearly. The American people want Trump to do it, clearly. Let's get it going. Okay, now, last point on ICE. Not only are they spending money hand over fist to get the out of the country, they are even enlisting Superman.
Hey everybody, Dean Kane here. And for those who don't know, I am a sworn law enforcement officer as well as being a filmmaker. I felt it was important to join with our first responders to help secure the safety of all Americans, not just talk about it. So I joined up. And here's your opportunity to join ICE. You can earn lots of great benefits.
Stop. Snares for Trump.
Yeah, since President Trump took office, ICE has arrested hundreds of thousands of criminals, including terrorists, rapists, murderers, pedophiles, MS-13 gang members, drug traffickers, you name it. Very dangerous people who are no longer on the streets. You can defend your homeland and get great benefits like a $50,000 signing bonus. Think about that. Student loan repayment legally, enhanced retirement benefits, and special pay for those in field operations and law enforcement roles.
This job is so good that even Superman is taking it. That's very impressive. Now, what is this about? Why is the Trump administration enlisting Dean Cain of Superman stardom? We'll get to that momentarily. First, I want to tell you about Helix Sleep. You need to go to helixsleep.com.
Next stop.
I don't always sleep well because I travel a lot and I'm on the road. And when I'm on the road, that means that I am away from my Helix mattress. Helix will improve your sleep. Your Helix will improve my sleep because I'll rest easier knowing that you're having a good night's sleep, okay? It is really fantastic because what makes Helix different is that they make a mattress for you. It's not just a one-size-fits-all or, okay, here are your 3 options or whatever. They match you with the perfect mattress for your body and sleep style, whether you're a side sleeper, a back sleeper, or somewhere in between. They have got you covered. All you got to do is take their sleep quiz, find your ideal match. Trust me, when you find that right match, you'll wonder how you ever slept on anything else. In fact, I have now, finally and formally, in my kids' bedroom, I have 3 little boys. One of them's still in a crib. The other 2 are in their matching Helix mattresses. Yeah, they're actually slightly different mattresses because they customize them. But they're Helix mattresses and they're little matching beds. It's very cute. Right now is the time to upgrade your sleep. Helix is offering a fantastic Labor Day early access sale. Go to helixsleep.com/Knowles. Get 20% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/Knowles. 20% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name at checkout so that they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/Knowles. The Dean Cain enlistment in ICE is about one thing and one thing only. Some people are thinking, oh, well, Dean Cain is one of the few conservative actors. It's him. It's John Voight. There are a handful of other people who are Hollywood stars who are reliable Republicans. It's not about that. Dean Cain's been a Republican for a long time. The reason that Dean Cain is being enlisted by the administration right now for this specific issue in this specific agency is because of James Gunn. It's because of James Gunn and that horrible new Superman movie. I'm just going to read the Variety reporting here. Remember when Superman came out? This is a month ago, less than a month ago. James Gunn says Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. Yes, it's about politics. Now, that isn't true. By the way, that's not what Superman is about. Superman is a Christ allegory. It's a story. It's a modern myth and legend about a Christ figure. The Father sends the Son to Earth and to protect all of mankind, to save mankind from all of these evils that they cannot stop themselves. That's obviously what it's about. It's not about, Paco crossing the Rio Grande with the help of MS-13 to go traffic little girls or something. That's not what Superman's about, believe it or not. But the political activists, especially on the left, they want to make everything about their ideological hobby horses. So James Gunn says, yeah, the new Superman movie, it's all about how great illegal immigration is. So Trump says, okay, hey, Dean. I don't know that he actually picked up the phone, but this is how I'm imagining. Hey, Dean, you need to join ICE. Yeah, we'll give you the $50,000 sign-up bonus. Yeah, you get the $100 to $200 bounties per head. But you need to counter this. Not only are you going to disagree with the director of the latest terrible Superman movie, but you're going to go help us round up it. That's great. That's great stuff. The administration has its finger on the pulse of the culture. That's what happens when the president is one of the biggest pop culture stars of our lifetimes, of the last, 40 years? It's great stuff. Now, the immigration is not a good place for the left to hit the Trump administration because it's a very popular issue. The deportations are a very, very popular issue. It was right toward the top of priorities for voters in 2024, and the popular vote goes to Trump. So I think they know they're going to lose on that front. They're trying out all sorts of other issues. Trump he's gonna mess up the war in Ukraine or in Gaza. Ooh, his trade policy is gonna be, they're trying anything to attack him. Hasn't really worked thus far. So one way they're gonna try to hit him now is over Washington, D.C., the local government of Washington, D.C. I know it's not a big issue, but they're gonna try to hit him and prove that he's a dictator, an authoritarian, a fascist, because he doesn't want people to be mugged and murdered in Washington, D.C. This all started because of Big Balls. You know Big Balls? Big Balls was the Doge staffer, a 19 or 20 young guy who was helping to streamline the executive branch of the federal government. The Big Balls has left the White House, and he was apparently just seriously mauled during a D.C. carjacking attempt by 10 vibrant youth who were going out. They were trying to carjack someone. I guess Big Balls intervened to try to help the person and ended up quite bloodied for his troubles. Trump tweets out about this or posts on Truth Social. He says, crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens, at the same time knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them. Fact check true. But it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults, yes, and lock them up for a long time? Yes. Starting at age 14? Yes. Harsh but fair. I don't know what else you're going to do. These people begin their careers in crime at these ages, especially when they join gangs. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together, then quickly we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize this city, make America great again. So New York Times freaking out about this. Trump threatens federal takeover of Washington after member of Doge is assaulted. Federal takeover. That headline is false. That is fake news. That's a lie. Trump cannot issue a federal takeover of Washington because Washington, D.C. already belongs to the federal government. Let me repeat that. Many liberals don't seem to understand it. They think Washington, D.C. is a city like any other city in the country, like New York, Chicago, L.A. It is not. It is not. It's not a normal city. It's not part of a state. It is part of the federal district, and the federal government owns it. That is federal property, which means it belongs to all of us. Washington, D.C. does not belong to the local residents of Washington, D.C. They don't have any particular right to Washington, D.C. If they want to have a particular right to their city, go move somewhere else. That is not their city. That has never been their city. They don't deserve representation in our government. That is our city. And that's been true all the way back to the framing of the Constitution. The Constitution, Article 1, Section 7, I think it's, what is it, Section 7? Maybe Section 18, I don't know. Don't quote me on the exact section. Says that Congress runs Washington, D.C. in all cases whatsoever. In all cases whatsoever. How did we get to this point of confusion where local D.C. residents thought that this was their city, that they could do with as they pleased and turn into a garbage heap if they wanted to? The way we got to this confusion is 1973. 1973, Congress gives D.C. home rule. This was a big mistake. You know, I love Richard Nixon. I think he's a highly underestimated president. I think he's one of the great political thinkers of the 20th century. This was one little bit of a mistake, I think. In retrospect, it was a little bit of a mistake. D.C. should not have gotten home rule. Per the Constitution, Congress runs D.C. Practically speaking, Congress had implemented all sorts of government rules and apparatchiks and agencies over the course of those centuries to run Washington, D.C. And this is what relates to President Trump threatening to take over D.C. The president also had a role here, because the president, for over 100 years before D.C. home rule, the president would appoint a mayor or a governor of Washington, D.C. So there would be a person whose job it was to run D.C., but this person was not elected by radical leftists who lived in D.C. It wasn't going to be Mayor Bowser. It was going to be a representative of the federal government, as it should be. Now, the other thing you're going to hear leftists say is, well, crime in D.C. has come down recently. Not really. Yeah, crime in D.C. is down a little bit from where it was in 2023. But there was a huge spike leading up to 2023. Huge spike in crime. And it's not just big balls, okay? It's also Henry Cuellar. Henry Cuellar is a Democrat member of Congress. He was carjacked at gunpoint by Capitol Hill. For those of you not familiar with the geography of Washington, D.C., I'm quite familiar with the geography of Washington, D.C. You have nicer areas and less nice areas. See, some of the ritziest areas would be like Georgetown, over here on the west side of things. Then, pretty nice area by the White House. Capitol Hill's a little less nice in those areas, but still, it's Capitol Hill. You have a lot of lawmakers there. It should be kind of nice. A lot of staffers, there were some bougie bars. A member of Congress is carjacked at gunpoint at Capitol Hill. Northeast D.C. is a war zone, but even by Capitol Hill, around the same time that happened, this is within the last couple of years, Naomi Biden, the granddaughter of the then President of the United States, was carjacked in Georgetown. Georgetown is like the nicest part of Washington, D.C. was carjacked in Georgetown.
I couldn't
It was a
believe how
Secret
much
Service
mucus
vehicle.
came out of my lungs
guy
the first time I tried
opened
this.
up the Secret
It
Service
felt like
vehicle.
I could finally...
A Secret Service
Shoe
agent
brands have been lying to you.
fired
You
shots
wanna know why?
at this guy.
Nobody
Yeah,
believed me at
the
first,
guy
but
gets
now
away with it.
At her
Eventually, I
first
think he's
day, but
arrested.
the
But
point remains,
the guy
and
gets away
I
with it.
know what you're
In
thinking.
the immediate aftermath, this is the granddaughter of the president in a Secret Service vehicle in Georgetown. Obviously, something's going wrong in D.C. The question is, if you're President Trump, are you just going to let that happen? Are you going to ignore the letter and spirit, but also letter of the Constitution? Are you going to ignore the fact that Washington is the national capital and that the people of the United States, all over the United States, have a right to it? And the politicians who work in D.C. need to have a safe city. Are you going to do that? Or are you going to embrace some false notion of democracy? Are you going to contradict the Constitution? And are you going to be on the side of the gangsters? That's it. Are you on the side of the innocent people? Are you on the side of the victims? Are you on the side of the Constitution? Or are you on the side of DC thug, gun-wielding, carjacking gangsters? Which is it? Democrats have picked a side. As usual, they're on the side of the criminals and Trump is doing it shouldn't even be a headline. Trump threatens to do the thing that the Constitution tells him to do. Trump threatens to act in the politics of D.C. as the political order is actually set. Okay, yeah, he is. I think that will be pretty popular, actually. Now, speaking of Trump improving Washington, D.C., this is a little bit late. It's about a day late here, but it's a very important story because Trump just hopped up on the roof of the White House and gave an impromptu press conference while he was surveying the land. We'll get to what that was about in a second. First, I want to tell you about Shopify. You got to go to shopify.com/Knowles. You know, I am a business owner. I'm president. Why are you walking around on the roof of the White House? Here are his answers. Thank goodness for AI audio cleanup. You can kind of make out what he's saying.
Good, Peter. More ways to spend my money. We'll show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country.
Luke, what's going on over there?
I'm doing the work.
Okay, so Trump, they're walking on the roof of the White House. You can hear reporters yelling at him. He's yelling at reporters. He refers to Peter Ducey. I think you hear Mary Margaret Olahan there, our Daily Wire's own Mary Margaret, and he's just responding. He said, "Huh? What? I'm just out here for a stroll." But then he says, "I'm looking at other ways to spend my money for the country." What does he mean by that? I'll tell you what he's doing. He's looking at all of the improvements he's making to the White House. Namely, he built a nice big flagpole on the north and south lawns. He built, he fixed the Rose Garden, which it was getting very muddy and hard to walk through. He put a nice little terrace on there. And he's building a new ballroom where the East Wing of the White House had been built basically as cover for a bomb shelter, actually, initially by FDR. And then Jimmy Carter's wife turned it into her offices, and he says, "No, we need a real nice big ballroom." So he's building a ballroom, and he's doing it apparently with his own money and with some money that he's going to raise from private donors, so it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything. And so he's joking. He said, "What am I doing? I'm doing the same thing I've been doing for months now. I'm spending my own money to improve this place as a gift to America." And he's not even just signing the check. What I love about this is he's getting up there like a general contractor. He's getting up there like a New York real estate guy with very particular tastes. And as a New Yorker with very particular tastes, I truly can appreciate that. He's getting up there and he's like, yeah, okay, we're going to need a little bit. It's going to be neoclassical. We're going to need, okay, it can't go higher than this. We got to make sure we don't want it to look discordant with that building over there. And hold on, and I want it to be this material. And this is a man in his element. This is a man in his element. I don't know that Trump is sitting poring over the philosophy of Donoso Cortez and Joseph de Maistre. I don't know that President Trump gets into the weeds on every wonky little part of every regulation or bill that comes out of Congress. I don't. But this is a man in his element. We're going to make this property, this iconic property in America, look beautiful again, and it's going to look beautiful and proper, and that's going to set the tone for the rest of Washington, which we're also going to help to rebuild and make beautiful again, going back to the executive order from the first administration, make Federal Buildings Beautiful Again Act, and we're going to, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. This is a guy that I would trust to renovate my house. I would not. I'm very anti-renovation. I'm very anti-putting additions onto homes because if the home starts out with beautiful architecture, and I'm very sensitive to this. I hate modern architecture. Even when they try to make it nice, they use cheap materials and they cut corners and they just cater to the most basic, quasi-bourgeois, comfort-seeking. Bad taste. I just don't like it, okay? I would much rather live in a beautiful taste.
Yeah, you're still there, right?
Yeah.
Tasteful hovel than one of these giant McMansion, vomit-inducing monstrosities. Am I putting too fine a point on it? I don't think I have. And so I'm very anti, put an addition here, fix this root wall, to change out the doors. Because all the new stuff is uglier than the old stuff. That's the problem. Every so often you say, okay, I would trust that guy. Okay, I would trust. And that's how I feel about Trump. And it gets to a broader political point. It's not just about buildings and flagpoles. When it comes to Trump, yes, he's a human being. Sometimes he gets things wrong. I say he's got a 99.4% accuracy rate. But there were some initiatives from the first term that I felt, that wasn't great.